The Penn State Department of Meteorology and Atmospheric Science has the brightest and best when it comes to teaching and research. And we always like to invite the newest additions to the department on the show. I'm pleased to welcome Dr. John Peters. John Peters is an assistant professor of meteorology and atmospheric science. John, you got your bachelor's and master's at University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee and your PhD at Colorado State. Welcome to Weather World.
That's right. Thank you.
So what made you want to focus on atmospheric science?
So it all started when I was about 3 years old. I saw a program on TV that showed live footage of an active volcano. It's a lava flow. And I was immediately fascinated by this. I developed this early interest in volcanoes. And over the years, that sort of spread to other natural phenomena, specifically those that cause natural disasters. So things like hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, eventually thunderstorms. And that's how I ended up interested in meteorology, and eventually I just had to pick one of those interests because I had decided I wanted to do a career in science. So I picked atmospheric science.
So the bug bit you early. Pretty common tale for a lot of us, I think, in meteorology. When it comes to your professional journey, what ultimately brought you here to Penn State?
Got done with my PhD, realized I wanted to stay in academia. I really enjoyed not only the research aspect of atmospheric science, but I liked mentoring and I liked teaching. So I wanted to be a professor. And was looking for jobs, and the first job offer I got was at the Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey, California.
Nice.
So that's where I ended up after my degree.
And so you just moved from Monterey, California to State College over the course of this year. How's the transition been?
It's been, as you would imagine, I have two young kids, and if you move two young kids across the country, it's kind of hectic. We actually got COVID right after getting here.
Oh, welcome to PA.
Yeah, so that was a little intense. But other than that, it sort of feels like coming home in some ways because I grew up in Wisconsin. It was hot and humid in the summer, very green. We had thunderstorms, and I didn't have any of that in Monterey. Summers were pretty dry. We didn't have any thunderstorms. So I think I went more than a year without hearing thunder and lightning. And for somebody who studies thunderstorms, that was, it was something I really wanted in my life more of, thunderstorms. So in some ways, it feels like coming home. In other ways, I've always liked places that had mountains, and there are mountains here, so
Plenty
that's
here
really
in Central
nice.
PA.
And there's a ski area in town.
Absolutely,
So,
Tussie right there.
yeah.
Let's hone in on your research. Your research group is the Convective Cloud Processes Research Group.
Yeah.
What are you studying? How many students are you working with?
So atmospheric convection is sort of a nerdy science term for thunderstorms, particularly what we call deep convection. When we're doing the nerdy science talk, that's talking about what people who are non-scientists think of as thunderstorms. So that's primarily what I and my group study, different aspects of thunderstorms, why they behave certain ways, what conditions are favorable for thunderstorms, what conditions can make thunderstorms severe and produce tornadoes, and how thunderstorms play a role in climate and moving toward how we can predict how they're going to change in future climate.
And you do a lot of research on updrafts within
Yeah.
those thunderstorms. How do you get that kind of data, and what are some applications of some of your findings?
So first of all, updrafts are sort of the engine of a thunderstorm. It's this really fast upward moving current of air in the center of the cloud, and that's what makes the cloud exist, and that's what sort of drives all the interesting things that happen, like the electrification, the lightning, hail, heavy rainfall that you get out of thunderstorms. And a lot of what I've spent my research career on is understanding, if you look at an environment surrounding a thunderstorm, or perhaps before the thunderstorm forms, how can we predict how strong that updraft is going to get? If we can predict how strong the updraft is, we can understand some of the severe weather hazards that the updraft in the storm might pose, like, again, tornadoes, hail, damaging winds, excessive rainfall.
And for applications, it seems like that could be used then in numerical weather prediction?
Yeah, so from one side of the coin in weather forecasting, we have all these things that we call severe weather parameters, which are, you look at a map, and at any given point on a map, there's a single value that tells you, hey, maybe there's a slightly enhanced chance of a tornado today, or maybe the chances are not very good for a tornado. So some of the work I've done is toward developing those parameters, those forecast tools that forecasters can use to better understand what severe weather hazards they might anticipate on a given day. Going toward the other climate end of things, a lot of the work I've done has improved how we represent thunderstorms in climate models, which is one of the biggest uncertainties in climate models. Now, when I say climate models, I'm talking about the computer forecasts that we use to predict future climate. So one of the biggest uncertainties in those forecasts is how clouds are represented. And one of the ways we can better represent clouds is just by understanding how they work better. So we can represent the processes within them better in the climate models.
We're almost out of time, but you had mentioned that one of the things that brought you to Penn State was that you were excited about teaching.
Yeah.
You're going to be teaching, as we go into this academic year, into the spring. What really excites you about some of the opportunities here?
I mean, so I really was excited about the idea of being able to teach undergrad students. When I had envisioned my academic career, I always thought about being in a program that had undergrad students. And the last two places I was at didn't have undergrad students. I think I like teaching from the standpoint of I like imparting knowledge onto people. I like sharing knowledge, but I also like the personal learning process that goes along with teaching. So when I teach something, I learn more about how that thing is. I think I develop a better understanding of that thing that I'm teaching. So I also like that aspect of it.
Absolutely. Well, we're out of time, but thank you so much for coming in on Weather World. Dr. John Peters, the newest addition to Penn State's Department of Meteorology and Atmospheric Science. He's an assistant professor of meteorology and atmospheric science, and we will be right back.